and welcome. We're going to give it a minute to make sure everybody makes it into the webinar okay. And then we will officially kick off with our AI Advantage session today on Wednesday, the 20th. As you're joining us today, please take advantage of the chat. We love to make this as interactive as possible. Questions, cool links, drop them in. And be aware we are going to be dropping in tons of links throughout this entire presentation. This is all about getting you tactical and access and opportunities to play with AI tools. So watch that chat. Right, give it just a few more seconds. Wonderful to see so many returning AI Advantage members as well as some new folks. Welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get kicked off. Quick introductions to your host today. My name is Gina Waldhorn. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Sports Innovation Lab. I steward our AI Advantage program as well as our Women's Sports Club. And joining me today as my co-host is going to be Travis Fleischer. He is founder of the AI consultancy shop Twin Brain, and also our AI expert in residence here at Sports Innovation Lab, collaborating and building a lot of RA tools with our team, our AI tools. A quick self promo. We're here to talk AI. We all believe it's important that we get really tactical and specific and look at AI through the lens of sports entertainment. And so we are asking you to check out and vote for our panel coming up at South by Southwest next year, where you'll recognize two of your hosts from the AI Advantage, our CEO, Josh Walker, and Microsoft's Envisioneer, Mike Pell. And we're putting them on stage with an actual AI as the third panelist. So again, I think South by Southwest is going to be covered in panels, probably thousands of panels with AI in the title. We're the only one that's actually going to talk to an AI on stage. And again, keep the discussion focused on the future of sports entertainment. So we're looking to have a lot of fun with this session, whether you're coming, streaming, or just want to support. There's the link. We'd love a vote. Now, let's get into why you all came, which is our third session of our AI Advantage program, where we're going to focus on GPT-5, exploring moving from models into actual business scenarios, and give you some amazing expert demos today. So a quick background, I recognize some faces. I see a lot of new names. If this is your first AI Advantage session, you're probably wondering, who are we? Who is Sports Innovation Lab, and why are we hosting this? We are a data, insights, and analytics company that works with the world's largest sports properties, teams, leagues, brands, and agencies to help them find, connect, engage, and convert the next gen, the modern fan. We've been focused on the next gen. We've been focused on the future of sports since our inception 8 years ago. And we've always stayed on the leading edge of who is that future fan and using data to understand and define who that future fan is and how the industry is going to keep pace with them. We actually coined a name for that future fan that you will hear throughout these AI Advantage sessions, and that is the fluid fan. And you've probably heard us talk about this before, but if you haven't, this fan is open to change, continuously evolving, and empowered to choose from all of the different choices and technologies and platforms and streams and merch and betting out there. It has never looked more different and more exciting and more dynamic to be a sports fan than it does today. However, the industry hasn't really kept pace with this evolving fan when it comes to using data to identify them. And that's what we do at Sports Innovation Lab. We exist to solve the problem that knowing who your fan is lives in data that exists in very disparate silos. You want to know who watches? That's in ratings. That's with Nielsen. You want to know who goes? That's with Ticketmaster. You want to know who's eating burgers or beers? That's with Aramark. You want to know who's buying merch? That's with Fanatics. And it's really costly and it's really time consuming to try to bring all that data together. So we did it for you. And everything we do using our AI tools and a lot of the examples that we'll show you might be anchored in what we've designed, which is the first consumer data cloud purpose-built for sports entertainment that we call our Fluid Fan Graph. We use it with our clients to drive insights. We use it to create programmatic audiences. and enrich our clients' own first-party data. And what's super critical about this graph is it has also been built with a specific lens for women's sports. We don't bring on a men's team without making sure we got that women's team in there too. So whether it's established leagues, international leagues, emerging sports, player-driven merch shops, content creation platforms, women's sports is duly represented within our fan data cloud. And some of the examples, and we love to make sure that this AI advantage is truly given women's sports, and especially a bigger advantage when it comes to using AI to accelerate their revenue. So with that said, quick recap of our program, and we're going to touch on a few things that we shared over the last 2 sessions. This program is all about demystifying AI and all the semantics and thought leadership out there, helping you set a foundation for what you need to know and what you need to be exploring and testing right now, and giving you the actual tools for today to help your business start familiarizing itself with this AI landscape. Our first session, we all got together. Shout out our wonderful partner, Microsoft, for welcoming to the garage, and which is their amazing space in Soho. And our key takeaways were a general introduction to the world of large language models. And a key takeaway from that was you're only going to get as good an answer out of those LLM models as the value and the hygiene of the data that you put in. Great data in means great insights out. So we focus on how might you organize that data. And we got you playing around with some of those chat tools like Microsoft Copilot and some of the design tools like Gamma. All of the tools that we shared with you are available at ai.sportsilab.com. That is our resource site where anytime we have a cool new vendor or platform, it's curated on that site for you. So go check it out. Session 2 was virtual, and we got a bit more specific in session two. We focused on defining agentic AI and going into the use cases and discussing the differences between traditional LLM models and agentic AI, which is much more proactive and is going to be kind of constantly learning and iterating and focus on a singular goal for your business or request. And we looked at specific use cases around dynamic offers, personalization, and we actually built our own ticket agent bot. One that's a concierge bot that could live on your site. We use Zapier for that. And one that was an internal tool for your own ticketing team to figure out how they might activate data that they're sitting on through a agentic platform to sell more tickets in a shorter time frame. You got an upcoming game, you need some answers quickly. So again, we built some of those demos. Those are all available for you to check out. Which brings us to session 3. Our focus today, we're going to tell you a little bit about GPT-5, what you need to know, but go bigger and broader than that to make sense of all these model evolutions through the lens of sports and entertainment. And then Travis and I are going to stop talking and we're going to hand it over to the experts. We have 3 amazing case studies on real use cases in AI using different types of partners from Shot Tracker, Microsoft, and Sports Machina. So with that, let's get into kind of our education part of today's webinar with the biggest news of the century. Well, not quite, but definitely feeling like it's massive news, which is the release on August 7th of GPT-5. It's been a long time in the making. It rolled out. What does that mean? What are the real differences, the updates, the components that we've noticed and that we think you need to be aware of? So to dive into that, Travis, why don't you bring us through what you've noticed and what you're excited about or you think people are really going to pay attention to and start to utilize in this new GPT-5 update?
Sure. Thank you, Gina. As you mentioned, I'm sure most of you have heard of GPT-5. There was a lot of fanfare when it was released. But what actually makes it so powerful? It's not that it's a new technology. It's still the same transformer architecture as previous models, but it's trained on an unprecedented scale of data. It's rumored to have over 20 trillion parameters that the model is trained off of. And what does that mean for you? It just means that it's really good at what it does and it's getting better all the time. And one of the ways that that manifests is through better memory and context across conversations. So I'm sure if you're a regular user of ChatGPT, one of the biggest bottlenecks is you'll have an amazingly productive conversation. The next day, you'll go start a new conversation, want to reference something from your old conversation, and I really struggle with that. But with GPT-5, it's unbelievably good at knowing who you are, understanding your tone, the projects that you're working on, and having that context cross over between conversations. And then it's also got increased multimodal functionality. So what does that mean? That basically just means that it's gotten a lot better at being able to understand different media inputs like text, chat, text, photo, audio, and give you better multimedia outputs.
Love it. Yeah, a lot of buzz from the creative industry around the GPT-5 release. However, it was not all unicorns and rainbows for poor Chat GPT-5. There was a lot of backlash when this rolled out on August 7th. People felt like there were things missing that they wanted to get back to. They didn't love the tone. It didn't feel as friendly. And I think what's really important about how GPT-5, how OpenAI handled this feedback is that in 48 hours of hearing all of this user feedback, they made a massive product change. They brought back 4.0, the previous model, and made it available for Plus users. They reinstated the modal auto picker, and we'll show you what that is, but that's when you get to choose between the different types, the different models that GPT is using versus the auto selector, which is what it initially rolled out with. And they made it more friendly. And I think what's so important about these changes to recognize here is how fast this happened. This is one of the largest technology companies in the world that released a new product and in 48 hours made significant model and UI updates to it. And I think that just exemplifies, if nothing else has until now, this really exemplifies the speed at which this market is moving and AI and the technology is moving. And at our first session, I think it was Chris Shreves from Staked AI said, AI is as bad as it's ever going to get today. And I think that really makes sense. And this is just another example at the speed at which it is moving. So what does this matter? You know what, Travis, you just kind of covered the deeper reasoning, the multimodals, the visual capacity. How is this helpful to you guys, the sports executives? Well, one, this involved and this approved training is going to bring less hallucinations. Estimated rates right now are about 9.6%, which is lower than previous versions. And if you use the thinking longer mode, it's down to about 4.5%. It also is able to handle longer docs, more complex data sets, and more disparate data sets. So this is really useful when we think about sponsor analysis and measurement. Being able to take disparate data sets about what your fans are doing, watching, buying, your own tickets, and bringing those together through a model that can help make sense out of those disparate data sources to forecast ROI and to create valuation and reporting for your brand partners or for your internal team when you think about selling to brands. In fact, we've taken advantage of this at Sports Innovation Lab. We've actually designed using this model to create an AI-driven sponsorship insights report to surface for brands, for properties and for brands. What are fans buying? What categories are they shopping? What brands are they actually spending on? And we're using AI to do this quickly, more accurately, and bring together disparate data sources. So we'll drop a link if you want to check out the beta of this. It'll be rolling out soon. This longer and better memory. For those of you focused on brand voice, personality, and tone, and running either multi-channel or even global campaigns, now GPT-5, and it's not just GPT-5, right? Anthropic, there are other models out there, but really these updates are going to help you find consistency across your campaigns. And if you have a main message, but you want to hit multiple markets or multiple channels or appeal to maybe multiple sponsor leads, you can use this model to upload that messaging, that pitch, that campaign, and it will be more likely to help you adjust and localize and even go into different languages or change for those different channels or properties or geographic locations. And then finally, that advanced visual content, being better able to understand the images next to text, next to video. We love this use case we're seeing for athlete profile generation. So if you're a property and you want to help your athletes get out there, if you're an NIL platform, if you're a talent agency, right? Anyone might have a use for being able to pull together more in-depth and dynamic profiles and repertoires for their athletes. Now you can use an LLM as a tool to help you do that. This is an example of that auto selector, that initially rolled out as an auto model selector that now you have control over, where you can decide whether you want to allow it to choose which model it uses, or if you want to select a model. And don't worry, this is the whole point of this session. We've created a cheat sheet. So you will all get this deck and this presentation, but we've gone through and thought about what are the different sports business use cases. If you need to focus on live Q&A during a game, or you want a customer service experience that feels near real time, you want to use GPT-5 Fast model. But if you're doing strategic planning or something like a sponsorship insights report, you're probably going to want to use the thinking model, which is going to give you deeper reasoning and help with more of that broader enterprise level research. So you'll all get it printed out, stick it on your desk. You'll always know what mode to use. A lot of the news we also heard about the buzz of GPT-5 had to do with Microsoft. And the good news is this is already in your entire Microsoft suite. It comes built into 365, Copilot, Foundry, Copilot Studio. This is a really important partnership. And it's also signaling the evolution of these models into enterprise workflows and processes. And so you can think about having to originally, even when we first launched this program and we all got together in April, we talked about using a chat app on one of the LLMs and then porting your answer over to a Gamma or a Lovable, right? You kind of had to use the reasoning over here and then use this other AI system over here. That is going away. Today, you can go into Microsoft Word and with the visual updates of GPT-5, put in your content calendar and right within Word, ask it to start creating some social media posts for you. So you don't have to keep toggling between Copilot and Word. So this is really exciting. And it's definitely indicative of where this entire market is moving to one cohesive platform where you will be able to pull from different models and systems. Travis, I'm going to toss it over to you to talk a little bit more about that idea.
Yeah, so most of your experience with interacting with these LLMs to this point is probably through a chat interface like a ChatGPT, or maybe it's Microsoft Copilot within 365. But most of your day-to-day interactions with AI and with LLMs and practical business applications is going to be done through APIs. And so what does that mean? What are some of the benefits and trade-offs versus using a chat interface? The main benefits is going to be increased control, right? So if you want your agentic system to be more predictive or deterministic, you can control, whereas with ChatGPT, you only have access to their 3 prefixed models. Increased scale. With ChatGPT, your context window ranges from 8,000 tokens for the free version up to 128,000 for the pro version. If you're using an API connecting to GPT 4.1 as an example, you can get up to 1 million tokens of context, which is the equivalent of a large novel. And then context. So this is just giving the ability for your product or app or system to connect to the broader ecosystem of your data, your tools. And we're going to have Andre from Machina come up at the end of the talk. And he's built a product that solves for this issue to help you seamlessly integrate all that context in your agentic systems. So you'll hear more on that from him.
Fantastic. Yeah, so we want you to start getting in the mind frame of you might always default to switching over to one of the chats and start to think about, well, how might I save time or get more output, more tokens, a better, deliverable if I didn't go to the chatbot and instead I used an API, right? It might not be obvious, but those
Yep.
are the kind of questions you want to start asking internally.
And there's other considerations like cost with ChatGPT. You have a fixed monthly cost with a limited amount of usage. If you're using an API, that's going to be metered based off of your token usage. So you can't think that you can use unlimited amount of tokens because you're going to get a bill that's going to make your boss upset.
Yeah, someone's going to have to pay for that. Awesome. And anything you want to note? I know we have Microsoft coming up, but about kind of, again, this was just such a big part of the announcement for GPT-5.
Yeah, so Microsoft has an exclusive arrangement with OpenAI where they have the exclusive rights to host their models on their cloud platforms. I know that James is going to talk a bit more about that. He's the director of sports and entertainment at Microsoft. So I think we'll dive more into that once we get to him, but would love to get Davion on as soon as possible because I know that we're moving a little bit.
Let's do it. Yeah. So listen, our experts are here to help you guys realize you don't have to have an AI midlife crisis. If some of this is sounding foreign or it feels like it's moving so fast, you don't need to worry about that. In fact, one of the words that you've probably heard a bit today or in other sessions are this idea of vibe coding, and you might hear experts mention vibe coding. So wanted to give you a quick definition of that today. Anytime you hear someone talking about vibe coding, they're not talking about trying to get the vibe and the spirits doing the development for them. It's about using an LLM to write the code based on your natural language prompts of, I wish it could look more like that, or, I'm really feeling like it should have this look and tone, and that will actually write the code for you. So that's the good definition of the day, word of the day to drop around the water cooler. Okay, so with that, we want to hand it over to our experts. And the context for these expert discussions are that over our several sessions, we've moved from foundational education on what are the platforms to agentic evolution. How do they talk to each other, iterate, learn, be proactive? And now where we want to go is starting you think about, well, what might be my business challenge where I need to think about using one of these models or going with an agentic solution? And where might I need to think about starting from scratch and pivoting an entire business or product or service I was building? Or where might it make sense to co-develop or develop in partnership with one of these solutions? Or where is it as easy as integrate off the shelf? And we've got 3 examples of those for you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. Travis, you want to set up Davion?
Yeah, hey, Davion, do we have you? I think you're mute. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Davion, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing
Uh,
awesome. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be on here. So thank you so much for having me.
yeah, it's great to have you. Every time I talk with Davion, I come away from the conversation smarter, and I think our audience will as well. So if I can set the scene really quickly, so you have a company, Shot Tracker, that has a suite of real-time data and analytics products for basketball. You started in the mid 2010s with a wearable technology that was literally tracking shots on a wearable, and then you evolved into like a broader infrastructure play, leveraging some more traditional AI, machine learning, computer vision. But about 3 years ago, you went all in on 3 new products that you are explicitly marketing and labeling as AI driven. So can you take us back to that moment in time and walk us through what you saw with the landscape that gave you the conviction to go all in on AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We had a suite of products, right? We started off with our main product being the Shot Tracker product, which was a sensor-based product. Now, the interesting thing was we were definitely doing more traditional AI, right? Whether it's CV, whether it's just algorithms that would allow us to determine statistical data. And I think a lot of times people, especially with the evolution of Gen AI, people, think it's a new thing, right? Where, I mean, AI has been
Mhm.
around for 50 plus years. And for us, we were definitely utilizing some of the more traditional AI. I would say it was about a couple of years ago where we decided, okay, we see the proliferation of computer vision. We want to figure out how do we go outside of just our sensor-based system, which is used for player development, but really be able to democratize access to video and data. And I think the big thing about democratizing access to video and data, or for the folks on the phone to any type of data, any type of video, any type of media, is how can you leverage some of these Gen AI systems to make that available in a faster, more efficient manner? So, for instance, what happens with our coaches is just the process of getting access to data and video was a pretty tedious process, especially if you're looking for things that aren't traditionally, if you're looking for, baseline out of bounds plays when Travis and Gina is in the game and Gina hits a three-pointer, all of that stuff becomes a process. And I know Gina hit a lot of threes back in her day. So that's just a really extensive process. So we
And
really
Davion,
decided.
if I could stop you for 1 second just to broaden the scope. So when you say Gen AI, you're talking about generative AI. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, utilizing the traditional Gen AI model, right? Generative AIs, language models, whether they're the traditional, OpenAI or Anthropic, or even small language models that you use. So really, when I say Gen AI, I mean like these language models, because I think that they've really helped us become mainstream because now consumers have been able to get in and start seeing the power of AI, right? Whether it's to help with cleaning up my emails or
Mhm.
generate a strategy. So when I talk about Gen AI, I'm really talking about based on those language models, which could be OpenAI, Anthropic, whether it's Gemini, Grok, or even just small language models.
So do you have an example of a product that you built that took your existing infrastructure and bolted on that Gen AI piece to make a product that is
Absolutely.
accessible?
Yeah, absolutely. I can show you a couple of those if I can share my screen really quickly.
Perfect.
Please
There's two
do.
products. There are two products that I really wanted to show you guys. So the first product is our Scout product, right? When we talk about democratizing access, and not only I'm sharing my screen here, but I'm also going to do like a real, example. So this product is voice activated. We want to democratize access, so we want coaches to either say, "Hey Siri, can you text Scout and show me all the baseline out of bounds plays?" or voice activated, text it, whatever they want to do. But we want to be able to get them this in real time. And one of the things that you guys mentioned before was like the power of the data that you put in, which really impacts the insight. And I thought that was pretty profound because the fact of the matter is that the data that we have, it allows us and empowers us to now do this not only in real time when games are going on, but close to data that may not be trained and data that's somewhat unique to the data that we have in regards to making it even more robust and delivering. So I'm going to go directly into the system here. We're based in Kansas, so of course I gotta, I have KU here, and I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to use the voice activated, and I'm going to say, show me all of Kansas State baseline out of bounds plays in their last 5 games. So, all right, so it changed it to baseline out of bounds plays. Show me Kansas State. You guys seeing this? And we're going to do a search. It's going to do about a minute to take this back in. So if you think about it, this is really complex, right? Because I want Kansas State, I want baseline out of bounds plays, I wanted the last 5 games. If I wanted to, I could do this with 2 minutes left in the game, or as I said, with Travis in the game, Gene in the game. So now what it's doing, it's going in, it's understanding, it's breaking up this search function and being able to go and get the data and bring it back up and give me some context around it and then give me videos associated with it. In the
This is
essence of
also
that,
this is a great, if I could step in, this is a great example of intelligent UI design, because understanding that this process might take a few minutes, you have the little spinning basketball progression bar at the bottom, right, which makes it a
yes.
bit more kind of just comfortable for somebody to sit there and wait and trust that it's actually running behind the scenes.
Yeah, actually, you say, hey, coach, we're coming in just a few seconds more. It'll take a little bit, about a minute here, but what I'm going to do is show you some other stuff in the interim, and then we'll come back to it. For this example, I said, show me Hunter Dickinson's three-pointers in the last 5 games. So what it did, it actually gave me access to a profile for Hunter Dickinson. It broke down, here's what I found about his three-point shots. He attempted 16. Here his last 5 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it actually gave me the video associated with it. So now I can click in and get access to all of this video. And of course, this with the most recent video. And if I wanted to, I can get this video. I could break it down here. Let's go through.
And that was all off of that one text prompt. There was no additional context that you had to give it. It just knew that it could go find all of these assets.
Exactly. So what you're going to see here is that that's Hunter Dickinson number 1. Boom. Here's his three-pointer. Right? So we're showing all of his attempts.
So
So
you want to
now
leave
if you
him
go
open
to,
at the top of the key.
yes, exactly. Well, not every day. Now, the other thing about this is that we do understand that if you get access to this video, you want to do different things with it, right? So we give you the opportunity to select it. If you want, you can click, add it to a library. You could share it with folks. Or if you want to, you can actually download it into your video editing tools. So what we're seeing now is that not only are coaches using this, but we're in discussions with broadcasters, we're in discussions with people who are doing marketing. And how do I make this and how does it happen in real time, right? Because I may want to say, show me these videos from the first half because I may want to create a package at halftime. So that's the kind of stuff that you see in here. Now, if you guys stay with me, I'm going to switch back to Kansas, right? To Kansas State baseline out of bounds play. So now it says it broke down. They had 27 plays. They scored 23 points on it. Here's the different statistical data associated with it. Of course, I asked for 5 games. I could ask for any number, but they break that down and says, here are the baseline of bounds plays. And then the cool thing about this is that if you look here, that's a baseline out of bounds play.
That's so
So we could
cool.
look at
Yeah.
every different video here. They're going into a baseline out of bounds play. So now the system is smart enough to understand what a baseline out of bounds play is and what they do. Another one. So if you notice here, everything that's coming back is baseline out of bounds plays specifically for Kansas State in their last 5 games.
And
And again, you could do the
this is all
same thing.
underpinned by a model like GPT-5 that takes the word out of bounds and then uses its semantic knowledge to go find that in a video database system.
Yeah, so there's multiple pieces that's happening here, right? You have to think that if we break this down, right? So there's this component that's deconstructing what exactly that request is, right? And understanding the different components associated with that request. Even before that, right? When the video is ingested, we have a model that goes into the video, understand all the things, and it's breaking down everything from statistically to baseline out of bounds plays to sideline out of bounds plays. Hey, show me when they ran motion offense, that they ran a 1-3-1 zone. So it's literally breaking down everything. So it has, I like to make fun and say, hey, imagine if, two of the best coaches in the world got together and had a baby. They would have the basketball knowledge of a savant and understand exactly all the things that you're asking. And then the other thing that we're incorporating is every coach has their own terminology. So some coaches may say hedge. I mean, I could say, hey, show me all the pick and rolls that ended up in a short roll, a full roll, a pick and pop, etc. So you can ask it all of these questions. It understands the context. If it says, hey, show me a hedge, of course it knows that hedge has to do with the pick and roll. And that's so I have to look at the defensive team. So these are all the things that we're training. Just a couple of the things here. I actually just asked another question too. I'm playing against Ohio State next week. How do I beat them? What do I need to do? Who are the players to watch? And it goes through and it breaks down, hey, you got to disrupt their motion offense, limit transition opportunities. They score a lot in the transition. And of course, here's his statistics. And then of course, here's them in action, showcasing the things that we talked about. So again,
we had a quick question in the chat. Are you going to make this available for other sports outside of basketball?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal. And I think that the cool thing about it is we have the infrastructure in place. We're starting to actually work with football right now. But yes, the ultimate goal is that with this infrastructure and how we've trained it, OpenAI has their MCP, the mother control, mother context protocol, that we utilize quite a bit. And with that, what it does, it allows us to work and build the MCP so that, as long as we have access to the data and the infrastructure, it could really be able to structure any sport, and it really accelerates the work that we're doing.
This is such a cool product. Thank you for sharing it with us. And just to put a bow in it and tie it back to the context of some of the other speakers that we're going to see, if I'm the coach of Kansas, this is a completely turnkey product. I don't have to upload my video or my terminology. They get the system, they can just take it out of the box, search, and it's going to populate those videos right away.
Yeah, so that's probably 90, 95%, 98% correct. It's going to populate the video, it's going to populate the data. Now, one of the things that I think is really important to note is that everybody has their own library terminology. So one of the things that we're allowing them to do is to be able to go in there and train it how they want to say it. But that's only specific to them. So therefore, if an opposing team goes in and says, well, I want to know how KU or Kansas State calls pick and rolls or what they call out, it won't provide that information. So that's
Hmm.
really for you. So that's part of like the personalization and the power of being able to utilize this system. And then
But
one last
there's
thing,
no heavy developer lift. It's just you
yeah,
put that
there's
in your
zero.
develop.
There's zero developer lift. And right now we're trying to build a tool so that even if you have your data, I think in the future what's going to happen is people are going to take NIL data and put this in and say, hey, this is my budget. Who should I be playing? Who should I give what dollars, right? Because now we have this juxtaposition of NIL data with performance, with video and validation to build this full-fledged. So Travis, one last thing I want to show before I go, and this
30
is
seconds. Make it quick.
a different product, is being able to go through here. And this is a product that I think people get excited about from a just from a sponsorship perspective, but being able to create these three-dimensional experiences, of course, using some AI in real time via click, no hardware necessary. So if you notice here, I just went in, I clicked, and I was able to create this three-dimensional experience that you're going to see loaded here, which can actually go in stadium. It can go into any one of your different devices, and you can actually go into your social. So
There you go. I
let's
saw
take
the
a little.
Valkyries in there. I like seeing some women's sports represented in these tools. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
we're heavy into women's
Very
sports also.
cool.
We work with Dawn Staley. We work with, we just signed UCLA. We work with a lot of women's teams, and so this is pretty cool here because literally, if you wanted to, we empower you to change this to be whatever you want it to be from
Very
your
cool.
perspective.
Davion, thank you so much. You are an OG in this space. You've really given us a lot to think about in your own journey for those on this call who are building products who might have to make a decision. It's time to go all in and rebuild or build with some of these tools that weren't around a couple years ago when I first built my product. Things just move so quickly, and you've just exemplified how you can kind of make that evolution or that pivot and turn it into something incredible. So I know your teammates been popping links and examples. Reach out to Davion. He'd be happy to give you guys demos and mock-ups and things for your teams and brands and things like that. But now I want to pass it over to one of our partners on this entire AI Advantage program, Microsoft, James Hess, who stewards sports and entertainment, the world of AI for Microsoft. James, would love to hear your perspective, as Microsoft is what we like to call a true co-development partner. So please, introduce yourself and maybe kick us off with kind of what is the relationship for the folks on the phone as they're thinking about diving into the space, building something new, accessing these tools, and Microsoft might, seem intimidating. How do they get started, and tell us about your role in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for having me on the call today. Exciting topic and certainly no shortage of items to talk about. I'm the managing director of sports and entertainment at Microsoft. Been at Microsoft about 13 years, focused on sports and media for the last 11. So I've definitely seen some exciting evolution of the way we work with customers like yourselves on the call. And AI is really transforming this industry at such an unprecedented pace. Yes, other industries as well, but there's nothing like live sport, and the opportunity seems to just keep exploding with ways that our tech can focus on outcomes, right? I think Davion and his team at Shot Tracker are an incredible example of partner solutions that have really taken things to a much further level that customers can go out, put their hands on, and have more tangible results faster. I think where you'll see Microsoft continue to invest and make announcements is going to be more around the tooling that you have access to create these things for your business on your own. Again, we'll be making more announcements around how things like this are embedded in our core products. But again, for the sports world, we feel there's a lot of work to be done where we're bringing together different disparate data sources and getting the value that folks are chasing. One of the
Speaking
things I wanted to,
news,
yeah,
maybe
go,
you
go
could
ahead.
share a little news.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of folks may have seen this morning our new announcement with the NFL and the evolution of our relationship there. I'm going to show a quick video on it, but if you didn't see it, it's a new league announcement. We'll be working with all 32 clubs and deploying AI agent technology to support various parts of their business, like football ops, scouting, game strategy, salary cap management. And that will continue to evolve with the use cases we see the clubs light up in that model that I was just describing, where a lot of them are self-serving on their own. We'll lean in with them, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But before I do that, let me share this screen in this quick 1-minute video.
Awesome.
The final score, the glory. But the real work starts long before the coin toss. It's the early morning workouts, analysts scouring data for patterns, scouts uncovering talent, coaches working and reworking game plans. The road to game day is where foundations are set and advantages are gained. Microsoft's AI is helping clubs cut through the chaos.
We've trusted them with 100 years of the way we do something and turning that into a new way of doing it.
Turning data into a playbook for every possible scenario. And when the lights come on, it's game on. What's trusted in the quiet is proven under pressure.
To be able to take that information, accelerate the way that we're really trying to deliver it to our players, that's everything.
Split-second calls, real-time decisions, game day ready. Microsoft Copilot, built for game day.
Congratulations. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times, right? And again, we've spent so much time at the club level around different parts of the business. This is really, a change for us where Microsoft's becoming relevant on the sports operations side of things, not just the business operations side of things, where people historically are used to working and meeting with us. Another example, I don't have a video to share, but you may have seen we announced earlier at Build the Pacers' use of Azure AI Foundry and creating a captioning service for their live game experience for deaf, hard of hearing, non-English speaking fans. Really got a lot of excitement when we had that on stage at Build this year. A lot of clubs reached out and said, why aren't we doing this? How do we do this? And it was really a lightweight thing that we partnered with the Pacers on. And I think the exciting part, and we see this in sports all the time now, is it's all about that venue experience. So when we're creating a venue experience for the Pacers, we're also able to use that with the Fever and other third-party events that take place in that building. So it really has this compound effect where we're not just focused on the core tenant, we're focused on the business and where we're able to spread that value out a little bit further. Another announcement that came on earlier this month, and somebody brought it up earlier on the call, I think, Travis, you may have referenced it, our incorporation of GPT-5 in our consumer, developer, and enterprise offerings. I think that was, just a few weeks ago, but you will continue to see massive lean in with our partnership of OpenAI and Microsoft for obvious reasons. But again, it's very much self-serving and getting people into a place where they can be dangerous with our tool bag and we can help where needed. And with that, maybe I could talk a little bit about our approach, ways that people on the call can think about working with Microsoft.
I think that would be perfect.
Okay. So, and again, I called out Shot Tracker because I think that's a very, interesting and relevant way that partners are doing amazing work in this space. I think the difference and maybe a way that you can think about working with Microsoft is really we're here to help you all, again, as I keep referencing, take advantage of the technology that we're putting out into the ecosystem. We manage sports at a very senior level in our commercial business. So we have a large team behind myself and a few others that are eager and available to meet with any and all of you. But really our approach kind of takes a sidestep to technology, right? Like in the new world, architecture is agile. It's more about outcome focused business, right? So we get in, we want to roll into the, hey, what is that overarching goal, or what we would call an epic, and then break that down into features and user stories that we can then map technology to. So what we find in this business is that a lot of you are trying to solve very similar things, but in a different situation, depending on your market, your building, the year it was built, have you renovated, are you renovating, are you building new? And then really the different leagues present a different filter on that also, where maybe the focus is more around individual sponsorship sales, marketing sales, ticketing sales. I heard a few things come up earlier from Gina, right? Really about knowing the fan, who's in your building, who's not in your building, right? We hear from the NBA on a regular basis, 99% of their fans will never go to a live game, right? So how are we serving that 99% while also creating the best 1% experience where we're competing to keep those people to coming to games and being season ticket members, et cetera. So again, it seems like traditionally we've spent a ton of time with ticketing sales, sponsorship, marketing groups that are really driving the business, but it's evolving into these other areas because the AI levels of what we do is becoming so accessible that we have people from the coaching staff reaching out that are trying to create models and build out scenarios. And it's really exciting for us. So I encourage everyone, if you're not talking with your Microsoft rep or your teams, or you don't know who they are, or you'd like to spend a day with the Microsoft technical team and getting feedback and just input on what you're trying to do, again, we're always happy to lean in and partner with you all individually.
Guys, take advantage of this. And we had an opportunity to talk, James Travis and I before this session. He gave me some great examples of where they helped teams build their own IP. So even if you're approaching with a challenge that doesn't have an obvious fit into a Microsoft product that you know about, but you're trying to solve a business problem or create something from scratch, think of James and the team below him and the folks at Microsoft as a co-development partner who will help you navigate the landscape and all of the different products and services and models that they have at their disposal to help you create that piece of IP, because that's not their focus. And so they've already proven that they can do this very successfully. So startup leagues, teams, take advantage of this. They're just an amazing partner. So James, thank you so much for sharing with us. Congrats on all the news. We could not have planned this session better in terms of timing to get an inside view of what you're up to with all this amazing news around Microsoft.
No, thank you all.
Excellent. And now we're coming around the bend. We saw a pivot. We heard about co-development, creating stuff together. What if you need something off the shelf? What if you're on your way, you're building, you've kind of already got an idea in mind of what you need. You maybe have some developers on staff, but they're not AI developers and they're not going to build something from scratch. Who do you go to? Well, good news. Andre, founder of Machina Sports, is here to talk about the platform that they built that really falls in that spectrum. So Andre, introduce yourself and maybe kick us off with, what did you hear from the market, from brands, from agencies, from properties and teams and leagues that resonated and made you create this type of technology that is more off the shelf?
Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you, Travis, for having us here. So yeah, absolutely. We've been talking to a lot of different sports organizations across broadcasting, sports betting, and clubs and leagues. And some of them, they have internal AI teams. So definitely they can build either by partnering with Microsoft or other AI partners. But a lot of them, they don't have the expertise. And to keep always, up to date with the latest research, every week there's a new model. There's GPT-5, GPT open source, all the different models, all the different techniques. You definitely need to have an internal team, or at least have some infrastructure to test it out, to play with these models. And this is something that most of the organizations, they don't have it. They have developers, mainly full stack developers, front-end developers, but to have the deep expertise on AI, you need to, invest some time and resources on that. And that's where we come from. That's where we come in, because we are building these deep integrations with different data providers, different social media partners, as well as CRM solutions. So you can plug in with your existing stack, right? So a lot of sports organizations, they already have a stack. They have a CRM solution, they have a website, an app, and then how do you bring that over without having infrastructure? And that's how we do it.
Well, show us. Yeah. Let us
absolutely.
see. Let us see what you built. We want to see what we can start playing with and pull off the shelf, and integrate into some of those existing tech platforms.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we are a vertical AI agents platform, and we pretty much focus on building these deep integrations to bring the context of sports in real time for LLM ready workflows. So as Travis mentioned, today there's a lot of ways that you can bring different information to LLMs, and we focus on the API level. So you can integrate with your existing sites, your different apps, or different resources, so you don't need to build any new infra, right? And we do this by having these deep integrations with multiple data sources in the sports space, but also CRM solutions, social media feeds. So then you don't need to kind of maintain that infra. You just bring your API key from these providers, and then you start deploying this agent. So our focus is on the agent stack. So right now we're optimizing a lot of different workflows for sports. So I'll show some examples here, but it can go from across different use cases. So content generation is one of the main use cases you can use for, marketing use cases, newsletters, and you name it, but also in terms of conversational experiences. So some sports books is already using our stack for helping users find odds, find markets in a conversational way. So the idea, I'm going to show an example that DAZN is one of our early customers used our stack to build agents for multimodal gamification. So they have on their app, they have the fan zone where fans can chat and they can play games, play quizzes and polls based on what's happening on the game. And before using our platform, they were building all these, questions and quizzes manually, right? So the idea is that how we can bring AI to this stack to make it much faster for the production teams. So the stack here is using their existing data providers for sports data. We also parsing news and historical data to then bring a semantic understanding of this context of sports. Because if you think about 2 years ago when we started talking about ChatGPT, everybody was mainly talking about prompt engineering, right? How you create the prompts, the programming of the LLMs to do what you need. But now the new buzz in all the AI startups is context engineering, right? How do you bring the right information at the correct time for these LLMs? Because the LLMs we're reaching to a level that is being pretty much a commodity, right? A lot of open source models are reaching the same levels as closed source models. So now it's the main differentiation is how you bring the right information at the right time. And this is pretty much what we focus on by building the deep integrations, and you don't need to maintain that. And we have open source agent templates that you can build on top. You don't need to start from scratch either. But I'm going to show you this example from DAZN. So pretty much focused on quizzes and polls for real-time events. So let me just open here. We created a mini dashboard so you can kind of visualize this. But the idea is actually these agents were integrated directly on their app. So I will show you then screenshots from the app, how it looks like. But imagine we have pretty much, we're here focused on a couple of leagues. So this is focused on soccer right now. So it's covering La Liga, Serie A in Italy, and the Brazilian Serie A as well. So I'm going to open a past event that just happened yesterday, Real Madrid. So I'm going to open the Matchday Studio. We have other playgrounds experiences that we're building. So content generation to generate match previews, match recaps as well, podcasts on top of this, context. But I'm going to open the Matchday Studio. It's just pretty much for a moderator, someone that is responsible for engaging the fans on the live event. So you see here that the AI start parsing, this is a past event, but then we see that all the information that the AI start parsing based on the live stats that's happening on the game. So a lot of different insights based on API data from, in this case, they're using Sportradar, but also we can bring social media feeds and also news, right? So before the game, on a pre-game setting, we bring all the news, all the rumors. So all of this context becomes available in this brain, this semantic layer that is pretty much being built. And then that's when the AI starts creating automatically all this information. Yeah. So it generated polls based on what's happening on the live event. but also quizzes as well, you know, based on both news and,
Awesome.
and live events.
I think this is a really good example of earlier when I said, hey, we all have these workflows right now where we're jumping back and forth to the chatbots, and we're jumping over to GPT or Copilot or Claude, and we're asking it questions, and then we're porting it over somewhere else to try to make a quiz or just do it ourselves. And what you're showing us is on the back end, you've connected the systems, so that's taken care of for you. It's using, I love that buzzword, the context engineering to parse through the news, the stats, the scores, the schedules in real time, and then auto-generating that poll for you. And you didn't have to leave your studio environment to create that. And then it's already going to pull from an API to publish it in the app. And since we're coming up on time, show us the app. I want to make sure we have time to see the app.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these quizzes and polls also are multimodal, so automatically they can generate images together with that. So you can make some fun images where, you know, in this case, what are the teams that have more appearances on the Club World Cup? We can bring the jerseys, we can bring historical data. Also, we can generate real players, right? But this gets into the IP rights of this information. So we didn't use that on a live setting, but just to showcase what is possible here. And you can bring, you know, players from the past next to players from today, so you can make some really interesting multimodal executions here. Also, you can generate videos. We didn't do it for these use cases, but all of this is pretty much based on our, you know, deep integrations that we have with either data providers from sports, but also outputs. You can generate audio, you can generate images and videos as well. So yeah, a lot of these use cases are now being built by broadcasters, sports betting companies, and yeah, our platform is ready, and we're open to collaborate.
And quickly leave us on your templates. Just give everybody a peek. So again, I'm going to shout out the women's sports, emerging sports leagues. When you're looking for more content, game day experience, you don't have as big a team to create this stuff from scratch. These are all of the different kind of templates, as you call them, that you can kind of pull and start to bring into your own platforms, your CRM, your social media, that are going to create it, use the LLM models so that you can do it with speed and are incredibly cost efficient versus trying to go set out on building this stuff and building your own agents from scratch if you don't have those resources. So Andre, thank you so much. Please drop your information into the screen, and I'm going to take us home right now with just one important slide to share with everyone, which is our toolkit. So we have going to put today's presentation. We have our past presentations. We have the AI market map. We have demo links, and we keep putting all of the great information from our AI Advantage program into this AI toolkit, as well as links we've shared today. Make sure to sign up for the Sponsorship Insights beta. We're gonna get together in person at Advertising Week, Sports Innovation Lab, and our Women's Sports Club, which puts this whole AI Advantage program together. We'll be hosting Club Women's Sports for our second year. Join us there. We'll probably get the whole AI team together in person. So make sure you're signed up as an official AI Advantage member so that you get those communications. Huge thank you to all of our experts who joined us today. If you have any other questions, if you have topics you want to make sure we address in our last and final session for the year, email them to me. We want to hear what's keeping you up at night when it comes to data and AI and how to use these tools, these platforms for your everyday needs and challenges. So thank you so much, Travis. And everyone who joined us today for spending an hour with us. And let's go play around some tools and use vibe coding and context engineering, and we will all sound brilliant today. So thank you for dropping that knowledge.
Thank you all for joining us.
Bye, everyone.